Welcome to U.S. Defense Line Channel. Explosion sounds echoed from the territory of Russia. War is now felt on Russian soil, too. Explosion sounds were heard in Kursk, Russia's critical region. Tensions are rising in this border region of Russia. In this region, which can be easily targeted by Ukrainian troops due to its location, explosion sounds have been reported many times recently, and critical military points have been severely damaged. This time, it was reported that Ukraine attacked the Glushkovsky region in Kursk with an unmanned aerial vehicle. According to the statements, the attacks of Ukrainian troops with unmanned aerial vehicles against the border regions are increasing and may increase even more. According to estimates, the Russian army has been trying for several weeks to create a new defensive line on the right bank of the Dnieper River. Also, according to breaking news, critical points of Russian forces in the surrounding Kakhovka region were bombarded by Ukrainian troops. According to the statements, the situation of the Russian troops began to deteriorate on the left bank of the Dnieper after the right bank. Now Russia has difficulty in finding even a place to stand on the fronts. However, it is stated that around 40,000 Russian soldiers made a transition in this region as a result of their withdrawal from Kherson. These thousands of soldiers may be awaiting orders from their commanders at a loss as to what to do now, because there is still an obvious Ukrainian superiority in the regions. Ukraine continues to give good news from the Kherson region. Latest statements came from the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. Ukraine is taking back more and more lands in the Kherson region. Zelensky announced that Ukraine's defense troops have liberated more than 60 places in the Kherson Oblast. He also reported that approximately 2,000 explosives were defused in the areas under control in Kherson. In this region, where Russia could not achieve success, Ukraine carries out a successful work while taking it back under its control. Ukrainian flags are planted in every region taken, and these waving flags are a proof of the success of the Ukrainian army. Ukraine's achievements are not limited to Kherson. With Ukrainian planes, 11 airstrikes were carried out on critical points for the Russian forces. It was reported that 3 of these attacks were made on the anti-aircraft missile system and 8 on the places where the Russian forces, their weapons and military equipment were located. Ukraine's attacks were not the only ones. Ukraine's rocket and artillery units also hit one Russian command post, the location of 11 Russian forces, weapons and military equipment, and many other important military targets. As critical points in the regions are hit, Moscow's losses in the war reach more serious dimensions. Operations continue on the Eastern Front. It was reported that Ukrainian forces hit the area where Russian troops were concentrated, near Kursk on the Luhansk front. Consequences of this offensive of Ukrainian troops were severe for Russia. Ukraine neutralized 45 Russian soldiers as a result of its successful attack in this region. Russia's military resources, which are decreasing day by day, have been neutralized close to 81,000 soldiers so far. On the Eastern Front, Ukrainian troops have been increasing their effective advance in recent days. Thanks to this progress, many regions continue to be taken back. It is also known that the importance of the Eastern Front for Russia has a different meaning. Russia's dream, Donbass, can now be completely under Ukrainian control. This will lead to a major defeat for Russia. Ukraine also reported attacks from the Zaporizhzhia region. Ukraine has deployed anti-aircraft defense systems in the Zaporizhzhia region. Zaporizhzhia City Council Secretary Anatoly Kurdyev announced that there were explosions in Zaporizhzhia. However, he noted that Ukraine's anti-aircraft defense systems are working successfully. It is known that these fronts are very important for both countries. For this, countries should be very careful about all their steps on these fronts. In addition, the fact that a nuclear power plant is located in this Zaporizhzhia region makes it even more worrying for the countries. Every time Russia carries out an attack in this region, it gets quite a reaction. But he still continues these attacks. On the other hand, Russian forces attacked more than 15 places on the Sumy, Donetsk, and Dnipropetrovsk fronts. Russian forces also carried out 14 airstrikes and about 10 artillery strikes during the day. Areas are reported to have been damaged. However, these damaged areas will also be repaired with the reconstruction works initiated for the infrastructures. This will cause Russia to waste ammunition and make an effort to attack in vain. Moreover, Russia, which targets the infrastructures of Ukraine, also causes reactions with these attacks. Sanctions are also increasing. As the sanctions increase, both the economy of the country is affected and the steps to be taken by the countries become even more critical. Russian forces also continue to strengthen their defenses on the left bank of the Dnipro River in Kherson Oblast. At the same time, it was announced that Russian troops carried out offensive operations around Novopavlivka, Bakhmut, and Avdiivka. Violence of the operations on many fronts continues to increase. Every move made on every front is now of critical importance. Losses increase with each move. General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine continues to announce the losses of the Russian forces. Losses of the Russian forces are exceedingly high. This time, 810 soldiers of the Russian forces were neutralized in just one day. Losses of Russian forces since the beginning of the war in February are quite surprising. Ukraine reported that in one day, Russian forces destroyed 12 artillery systems, 24 tanks, 34 armored combat vehicles, and 1 drone. Greater the destruction of such military equipment, the more the Russian troops are experiencing a decrease in offensive power on the fronts. Russia, whose military equipment losses have reached serious dimensions, no longer has a margin of error. On the other hand, Belarus, a big supporter of Russia, made claims about Ukraine. For a long time, Russia and Belarus have been carrying out military work together. It can be said that Belarus is also a partner in Russia's attacks. Before the war, the Belarusian Minister of Defense had promised the Ukrainian Defense Minister that Russian forces would not be able to cross from Belarus to Ukraine. However, Belarus did not keep this promise and showed that its word cannot be trusted. Russian troops bombarded the territory of Ukraine from the territory of Belarus throughout the entire war. It was also stated that the possibility of a joint attack by Russia and Belarus cannot be ruled out. Belarus has now claimed that the Ukrainian armed forces destroyed not only its border with Russia, but also roads and infrastructure facilities. Belarusian border guards said they were angry at the Ukrainian army's continued mining of the land along the Belarusian border. Putin had wanted Belarus to join the war against Ukraine, but Belarus had declared it would not. But the fact that he made Russia use its lands despite his declaration that he would not participate in the war is an important example of the support he gave to Russia. As it is known, Russia has very few supporters. Ukraine, on the other hand, has had many supporters since the beginning of the war, and despite being a smaller country, thanks to these supports, the country is able to protect its lands and skies. This greatly affects the course of the war. Now there is no margin for error for both countries. As long as the aid to Ukraine increases, the advantage will be completely in favor of Ukraine. If Russia cannot cope with such problems, it will be a matter of time before it faces bigger defeats. Now, each step taken becomes more important than the previous one. Over time, we will see what progress countries will make and in what direction they will take steps. In these days, where the violence of the war is increasing day by day, both countries have to make a strategic progress. We'll see what happens in the next few days. We have reached the end of another video. You can support us by liking the video. You can easily follow new videos by subscribing. I wish you all a war-free day. See you.